Ohio football is 6-2 and 3-1. It's time to push towards the end of the season. The divisional race is getting tight. The Bobcats hit the road to take on the Buffalo Bulls coming up next Tuesday. But before that, we visited with Coach Solich at Donato's on East State Street in Athens on Monday night. And here's our Solich Show Slice for week number 9. And that was the 7th victory in the last 8 times against Miami. And spoken or unspoken, revenge most certainly was on the mind of this collective Bobcat unit. And the way that you started the contest, too, was incredibly impressive. It's one thing to have those thoughts and another thing to say those thoughts, but it's another thing to put that kind of stuff in action. Boom, you guys take a 14-0 lead, and that most certainly put all of that talk into action on Saturday.
You know, a good start always helps you out regardless of the competition. And so it was great to put 2 touchdowns on the board right away, and then to get a feel like you were controlling things from the defensive side of it. Anytime you can get that feeling, that's a pretty good feeling, because, you know, offenses sometimes are going to struggle. They're not always going to be racing up and down the field. They're not always going to be throwing touchdown passes. But if you have a steady defense and a defense that kind of controls things, then you got something going. And then, you know, along with that, special teams can come into play and be a big factor when you're not clicking as well as you'd like to on the offensive side of it.
Tettleton was over 300 yards again. Dante Foster, for the 3rd straight week, was over 100 yards receiving. Let's talk about that connection, because it's really special, and it has been for a couple of years, but it's really getting even better as they close. What have you seen from them over the past couple of weeks, that duo together, and why they've been so successful together?
They've always been consistent, and along with consistency, though, I think the athletic level of Dante is really showing now. He's a tremendous athlete. He's a very bright young man, does all the right things, and so, you know, along with being bright, has talent, and generally those 2 things work out pretty well for you. You know, and you know, you look at the connection with Bo also there. You know, all 3 of those guys very close and very good friends, and all, you know, the same mold. You know, high character guys, great leadership ability, tremendous athletes, and so really proud of all 3 of those guys.
You had 7 sacks on Saturday. Your sack total is at 28. That is tied with Virginia Tech for the 2nd most in the country. Clemson has 29 sacks this year, and the Tigers are pretty good too. So that's pretty good company. Over the past couple of weeks now, even without some injured parts, Ty Brandt's, of course, probably done for the year. He wasn't playing this past Saturday, and that's a shame, but your guys still kept it going. How have you been so successful?
Well, we've played a lot of players this year, and so we're able to keep fresh players on the field. And obviously, if you have a fresh guy, one of the tougher things in football is to rush the passer play after play. And so if you're able to play a lot of different guys, then obviously that guy that's on the field is fresh and a lot of energy, and he's able to give you maximum effort. Along with maximum effort, we've got guys that can really rush the passer. And, you know, we're playing some true freshmen in the defensive line and alternating in with them that are outstanding players, and they're producing right now for us, along with some guys that have been in the system for a while and are talented guys. So I think we have the ability to rush the passer better than we've ever done before, and I think that's why the stats are starting to show.
Jeff Quinn and those Bulls, they are 6-2. They've won 6 in a row. They are perfect 4-0 in the Mid-American Conference. They controlled Kent State this past weekend in Northeast Ohio. This is really an interesting story because Rob and I had talked about it, and others around the MAC. We said if there'd be a dark horse contender in the East, it'd be Buffalo. I know you respect a great deal of what's going on in Western New York. They're really putting it together for a nice season.
Yeah, they've got a good ball club and have played very, very well. And, you know, you look at their 2 losses, I believe one was to Ohio State, the other one was to Baylor.
Yeah, and they played well at Ohio State, too.
Yeah, 2 teams that are, you know, ranked in the top 5 in the country. I believe Baylor's up there now, and so you know, you can understand how those are on their schedule as losses, but they, as you say, you know, played physical in those games, and certainly were not overmatched on that end of it, and that's kind of the temperament of their coach. You know, he's a very aggressive, physical kind of football coach, and I think that's kind of how his players play. And obviously, you know, that's where you want to start in terms of building your football team, to have a physical football team. Plus, they've got excellent talent to go along with that. Obviously, you look at across the board in terms of an excellent rusher on the offensive side of it, a great pass rusher on the defensive side of it. A guy will be really drafted in the first round, and so you're talking about really top of the line personnel.
The player that Coach is speaking of is Khalil Mack, who is right in the middle of everything defensively for the Bulls, and he's a guy that is rising on draft boards. A lot of guys really like him. We've known that in the MAC for some time. Nobody's going to throw up roadblocks for him to get out of this league because he's really good.
He's 6'3", I believe he's 248. Got great speed, great quickness, and he's just a guy that can maneuver his body. I mean, he's kind of a contortionist. He's never, even when he's blocked and put in awkward positions, he's never out of a play. He just recovers. Yeah. And, I don't think there's a team in the MAC that doesn't have just tremendous respect for what he's all about.
Coverage of Ohio and Buffalo gets going next Tuesday night on the Ohio IMG Sports Network at 7 o'clock. Then Rob Cornelius and I will have the play-by-play story of Ohio and U at B coming up at 8. It's also on ESPN2. It's time for the final push for the drive to Detroit for the entire Bobcat TV crew. I'm Russ Eisenstein. That's a Solich Show Slice, and this is Bobcat TV.